two lists, we have some words in common. You chose 7 words and I chose 8, and we had 2 words in common. We had the words vain and weary. We both used those too. For vain, we both put it in the general category or the general context, which I think made sense because the way it was written in the poem, you could tell that vain was not a good thing, but it wasn't specific as to why it wasn't a good thing, so the reader needed more information. And then weary, we both put in the directive context because the following line after the use of the term weary, they indicated a bed, which would let the reader know that weary means being tired or being sleepy. So those were the only 2 words that we had in common. What I found interesting was when it came to putting them in their tiers, tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, you put the word vain in tier 3, which would make it a more domain-specific term, and I chose to put it in tier 2. You know, I'm not sure if there's like a definite right or wrong here. The reason why I put it in tier 2, I'm trying to find the word on my paper. The reason I put it in tier 2 was because it can be heard across a variety of domains, and in my opinion, as far as I know, it's not specific to a specific area. The 2 tier 3 words that I chose that were specific to a certain area were gauzy, which I said was specific to the fashion industry, and flitting, which I said was specific to the study of insects or animals. So I thought it was interesting how we put vain, the word vain, in different tiers, and then also when you went on to explain which words you would teach, I thought it was interesting how you decide to pick one from each tier, versus I just decided to pick all the tier 2 and skip the tier 3 because, in my opinion, those domain-specific vocabulary words you will get if you decide to further your education in that specific area. For instance, if you're going to school for fashion, then you might learn the word gauzy in school. Or if you're going to school to study insects, you might get the word flitting in school. Whereas the tier 2 words, I think, are more generally used across the board. But at the same time, I do appreciate that you wanted to challenge your students. You indicated that that all the words you were going to teach could be paired with a visual representation, which I thought was interesting. I hadn't even thought of the visual representation with some of the words. So, yeah, all in all, I think we had similar trains of thought, and I thought it was interesting how we put vain in a different tier, and how you would choose to teach one word from each tier. And something that I would go back and focus on a little bit more in my paper that you focused on was the visuals and the visual representations. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting how we were similar and different.